As parents, we pour our hearts and souls into raising our children. We nurture them, we guide them, and we watch them grow. We invest countless sleepless nights, worry-filled days, and boundless love into their well-being. And when the time comes for them to spread their wings, we can't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. We wonder, have we prepared them well enough? Will they find their way in this complex world? It's a bittersweet moment, for we know that their independence is a testament to our success as parents. Yet it is also a reminder of the time we will never have back and leaves us unsure of our purpose and what to do next. Once they are gone, empty nest brings with it a floodgate of emotions. We may experience a profound sense of loss, mourning the end of an era and certainty of where to turn to next. That is why I have created for you this session that explores healing, growth, and resilience in the empty nest. Together, we will explore the emotional journey that is the empty nest and reflect on the importance of the child-parent attachment. Then, using a compassionate approach, I will guide you to understand how to build coping skills so you can move forward and thrive in this next phase of life in a way that is beneficial for you and for your child. I really hope you get something worthwhile out of my session. It certainly made me realize how attached I am to my own children. Love and light to you. My name is Dr. Malie Coyne, and I'm a clinical psychologist from Ireland. I'm also a lecturer, a psychology lecturer in the University of Galway in Ireland. And I've also written a book called Love In, Love Out, A Compassionate Approach to Parenting Your Anxious Child. I've worked with clients of all ages for the past 25 years. I'm hugely interested in the child-parent attachment in different stages of life and supporting families in a good enough way using self-compassion and connection with others. And I'm delighted to feature here. Empty nest syndrome is not a mental health condition, but it's actually a very well recognized phenomenon that occurs for parents whose children leave the home. And after many years of caring for your child, the child becomes more independent, and parents often can experience feelings of grief and loneliness, isolation, a loss of identity, a loss of purpose. And it can be very difficult for many parents. Some parents might be aware that this is something that they're going to experience. It is popularized in media. You can see it in programs. You've heard of the empty nest. Most people have heard of the empty nest. So I've found in my practice that some parents might anticipate the grief. So they're anticipating in the months, even the years preceding their child leaving, that this is going to be really difficult for them. And they almost anticipatory grief is there almost as a way to prepare your body and your emotions for something that's going to be changed dramatically in your life. And then other parents, I think it just catches them by kind of a shock in a way. They might have been so busy with their kids up to the time the child decides to leave that a parent might be thinking, well, when my child leaves, I'll just get on with life and things will just go on. And maybe they don't realize that so much of their identity was caught up with their children. Because I suppose from the moment we have our positive pregnancy test, life changes for parents in such a dramatic, huge way. It's different for every parent, of course, but there's this bond that's formed from such a young age, and kids need us so much, particularly when they're extremely young, but they need us throughout their lives to be doing things for your kids all the time as their needs change, as they grow up, as they become teenagers. Then suddenly overnight, your child is gone, and that can be really hard for some. I've also heard that there can be parents that feel an amount of guilt when their child leaves. They might be feeling guilty that they didn't spend enough quality time with their children, that they spent a lot of time working and that they weren't spending that time with their kids. Or there can sometimes be what's called a complicated grief, where maybe the relationship with their child may not have been as they would have liked it to be, or else there's family relationships generally that are strained, which might make this a more messy, complicated transition. So common feelings associated with having empty nest syndrome or experiencing this would be feelings of isolation, feelings of grief, sadness, guilt, anxiety, insomnia can be there as well, a loss of purpose in previously enjoyed activities, a sense of kind of not having direction, not really knowing where you're going to next, a loss of identity. It can be empty nest can feel particularly difficult for parents whose identity was very closely interlinked with their children's. Maybe as the child became a teenager, the parent was at home and still very much involved in the child's life, or they were very much, they're enmeshed in a way. Your identity with your child naturally will be kind of very much focused towards your child, but there are some parents who might be even more so kind of intertwined with their children for whatever reason. It could be that a child has particular needs, or they found it really difficult their final years of school. There can be many reasons why when the child becomes a teenager, you're still very much involved in their lives. And I never talk about blame. I always talk about good enough parenting and about kind of meeting the parent where they're at. Some research has shown that single parents might struggle a little bit more, where maybe there's not a partner at home. And so maybe a lot of their efforts have gone into their children. And when their children leave, they're left on their own at home. Others have spoken about where parents they're both living there, but they might have a difficult relationship or relationship issues. And that might make it more difficult when your final child leaves, because I suppose you're left with the person that you're with who you did have a good relationship with previously, but now all your focus has been on your children, and you start to wonder, who are we? And you might also feel that you're grieving for your child in very different ways. One parent mightn't be grieving at all, or they'll show it in very different ways. We're all unique in how we manage our feelings. So it's important to consider that. And it's really important. Like, I would always try to talk about common humanity, which is kind of the compassionate way of looking at this, that you're not alone if you're experiencing these feelings, and it's okay. There's lots of people that experience feelings like this. I've read that it usually lasts for maybe between 3 to 6 months. And if you find after that time that you're still finding it hard to get out of bed, that you're feeling feelings of depression, anxiety, I would encourage parents to go and seek some help, to talk to somebody. It's important to talk to others in similar situations, gain support from family and friends, because that is really the way that we heal from difficult situations like this. Sometimes parents find it difficult to let their children go, which is absolutely understandable when you've been giving all of yourself for the last 20 years towards your child, or however many years. And you might be worried about your child's going to a new city, they're living with new people, everything is new. And so far, you've been so used to helping your child and being there for them every day. And now they're going to be away, and you're not going to be seeing them every day, and your relationship is going to change. And I think when parents have needs of their own, which maybe they haven't processed, I think it's more likely that they might find it harder to let their child go and fly the nest. So like, they find it harder to be that secure base for the child to be able to fly from. And actually, in my work with parents of kids of all ages, I find that with parents anyway, that Some parents are happy for their children to go on a climbing frame and climb up high. And some parents are absolutely terrified of that. And usually those are actually patterns that we develop from the way our own needs were met or unmet as children. So our own parents can pass on some of their insecurities, their difficulties unconsciously onto us. And then we start to feel kind of anxious. I think I'm probably a more anxious dispositioned person. That's why I wrote a book about anxiety. And I think I like my own kids are 10 and 12, and I'm actually dreading even in the research of this topic and looking at this in detail for today, I'm actually dreading it to an extent that I just feel such a love, and like I like to feel needed as a parent, and to let go of that and then to fear what might happen to them. Will they be okay? Will there be mean people? Will they be safe? At the end of the day, you feel like your job is to keep your children safe. And now your job has just changed. You don't have a job anymore. Your job now is to look after your own needs and develop a newfound sense of an identity. And people around you are telling you, oh, well, isn't it great? Your kids are gone. You can go and stay in a hotel anytime you want, or you can hang upside down and you can do whatever you want anytime you want. But actually, you miss your child so much, and you miss feeling needed. You miss feeling this kind of attachment with them. And if a parent has an unmet kind of need, has their own emotional issues, it will make it harder for them to let the child go. So they're more likely to be contacting their child, maybe checking in with them a few times a day, maybe going to visit them or asking them to come back, and being quite maybe doing it at their pace. And I suppose what I would suggest to parents is, if you're feeling real dread at your kids leaving or your child leaving, or you're finding it really difficult to manage this, I suppose asking yourself, is this about them going, or is this about something emotional going on for me? And do I need to talk to somebody about this? Because the hope is that a bird will be able to fly out of the nest, and that the parent or the bird will kind of pat themselves on the shoulder and say, well done me, look at how well they've gone out into the world. And my job now is to let them fly, even though that's really hard. So it's going and talking to people, someone professional, or else family, friends, if you're finding that, or a support group. There's many support groups out there nowadays. Getting involved in new activities, that can help. But it's really important to know that your task now is to have your child almost set the parameters of what the contact is going to be. Obviously, if your child isn't into contacting you at all, you might say to them, look, I'm going to check in with you once a week and have a chat on the phone, or technology is making things so much easier. But I think your job now, unfortunately, fortunately, it's hard to know, but is to let them fly and manage themselves. Because if you hold them back, they will feel like that you don't believe in them, and they won't feel empowered. They'll feel worried about you. They'll feel like they can't fly. They'll feel like they keep having to come back, and that will actually impede their ability to move out and be independent and thrive in the world.